I remember looking desperately at a whole bucket of potatoes which I was supposed to peel. After mopping the floor and dusting the entire mansion, I had no energy at all for potatoes, but nobody cared about it. I began to peel one potato after another, thinking about how I ended up living such a life. A few months ago, I was enduring humiliation in an orphanage, and it seemed to me that things couldn't be worse. And then I got to a foster family. From that day on, I not only endured bullying, but also served the foster parents and the stepsister. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah, and one day I became a servant in a foster family. One can safely call me Cinderella, but there was no prince on a white horse who was supposed to save me, and I didn't have a fairy godmother, so there was no way I could get to the magic ball. The ball in my fairy tale was a school disco, which I really wanted to go to. Oh yeah, of course, my new parents would rather make me clean toilets, cook dinner for the whole family, or dust every little book in their huge library again, than let me go to a fun party. Hey you, why are you working so slowly? The voice of my stepsister Alice pulled me out of my sad thoughts. This mean girl decided to put me in my place, but on that day I was definitely not going to silently listen to her claims. Try to work at least at my pace. I'll look at you, I muttered to myself. How dare you talk to me like that, you ugly creature? Alice swung and gave me a slap in the face. I could have limited myself to insults in response, but I could not resist and grabbed a saucepan, pouring on the offender, the water in which I was washing off dirt from potatoes. Alice screamed so loud that she, or would it be better to say our, parents, immediately ran into the kitchen. What is going on here? Mom exclaimed in indignation. This stupid girl poured dirty water on me. She spoiled my new suit. And that was when I regretted my antic. My foster mother sent me straight to the attic. I've already been there before for my misdeeds. That place, I must tell you, is not really pleasant. Rats and spiders were my neighbors. It was terribly cold and scary there. It constantly seemed to me that in addition to rodents and insects, ghosts lived in the attic. I thought I would be deprived of my room just for a while. However, my foster mom said that from now on, her beloved Pomeranian would live in that room. That was supposed to be mine. At least he behaves, unlike you, ungrateful girl. I brought all my things to the attic, lay down on a worn-out, uncomfortable mattress, and burst into tears. After that incident with the pot of water, my foster family began to treat me even worse, and the list of my responsibilities began to grow day by day. Since then, after classes, I didn't do my homework like all the normal children do, but headed to the stable and looked after the horses. I had to do my homework at night by candlelight because my foster parents turned off the lights in the attic after 10 p.m. As you already understood in this family, the dog and horses were treated better than me. But I remember how happy I was when I found out that I was adopted by the richest people in the whole city. I thought that I would live like a princess, wear beautiful clothes, live in my own huge room, visit cafes, and go to a movie theater together with the members of my new family. What an idiot! Who knew that in the end I would become Cinderella? I remember being brought to a huge mansion, and almost at the doorstep, I was given an impressive list of responsibilities. You should be grateful to us for making you a part of our family, Mom said. Not a trace was left of that sweet woman who I thought she was after the first meeting. If you obey and try your best, you will receive pocket money, added my father. But this list is so huge. I tried to argue. Modern children are so lazy. In the orphanage, you were not taught to work at all. Mom grumbled. That's how I became handmaid. There was another servant in the house, but all the main responsibilities of the household fell on my shoulders for a long time. I could not understand why this family adopted me until the moment when I was taken to a social event. Mom even bought me a beautiful evening dress and told her stylist to give me a beautiful hairstyle. It was all too good to be true. I realized where the problem was when the journalist who came to the party decided to interview our family. Everyone admired my new parents as they were not afraid of difficulties and did a good job. They have adopted a child from the orphanage. We love our adopted daughter very much, Mom said while smiling, holding my hand. Leah is a real miracle. My father supported her, while my stepsister suddenly hugged me and kissed me on the cheek. The performance was over. As soon as we crossed the threshold of our house, Alice took away my evening dress. For half the night I was performing my duties as a servant. All the fake love for me vanished as soon as the cameras turned off. And it has always been like this. In public, we are an ideal, loving family, while within the walls of the mansion, we're strangers to them. I became just a way to raise their status in society, impeccable reputation, and help them to sign lucrative contracts, while I had no right to say a word. What if I blurt out something inappropriate and everyone would understand that our friendly family was just a theater? As soon as I rebelled and tried to defend my right to a normal life, I immediately heard threats directed towards me. I would ask, what about the pocket money that I was promised for my good behavior? Yes, I got it, but the whole amount was spent on fines. My parents fined me for every mistake I made, as if I was their subordinate and they were my bosses. As soon as I accidentally dropped something, someone from my new family would immediately show up and voice the amount that I had to pay for my clumsiness. And one fine day, thanks to the fact that Alice tripped me up, I dropped the tray of food on the brand new white carpet. It was impossible to wash that carpet, and I was fined so that during the next year, I could not even dream about any pocket money. This was how my life in a luxurious mansion looked like. Why didn't I run away, you ask? The answer is simple. Here, at least I had a roof over my head and food. If I had escaped, I would have neither the former nor the latter. The threats from my father and mother frightened me even more. These heartless people promised to go to the ends of the earth to get me if I dared to run away, and reminded me that in the whole world nobody needed me at all, and I should have been grateful to them for my kindness. And I should have been grateful to them for their kindness. Maybe I would have continued to endure all this if one day a new family had not moved into the neighboring house. These were the Browns, an elderly couple with 2 children about my age. They turned out to be very nice people. They came to visit us and brought homemade apple pie. My parents pretended to be hospitable and invited the new neighbors into the house for tea. Alice and I were also invited. The elderly couple began to talk about their adopted children, while my parents started telling all over again about how lucky they were to have me and how happy I was with them. You are very lucky to be a part of this family, Mrs. Brown told me. Yes, I answered and smiled reluctantly. It was disgusting to watch the theatrical performance of my parents again. When the Browns left, my parents threw the leftover pie in the bin. Fancy that they're so greedy that they brought not expensive delicacies, but a cheap pie. Mom rolled her eyes and waved her hand, pointing to the trash can. Leah, take this pie out of the house. I had to obey. I went outside and walked to the trash cans. During this short walk, I was longingly thinking about how much I would like to get a family with kind people like the Browns, but I had no choice, so I had to return to my hellish family. Leah, A woman's voice was suddenly heard behind. I turned around and was surprised to see Mrs. Brown. She seemed to be waiting for me. The woman came up to me and gently touched my shoulder. I notice that you do not have a very good life in this family. I have never been as scared as then. My parents forbade me to tell the truth, but I could no longer lie all the time. I felt very bad and no one could help me. What if I got a chance to be saved at that moment? Yes, I have a very hard life. They made me a servant and treated me very badly. I confessed and burst into tears. Mrs. Brown hugged me and said that I shouldn't endure this. But what should I do? I have nowhere to go. If I don't obey, they'll kick me out. You may come to us. We will always be glad to see you. I couldn't believe my ears. Life has taught me not to expect anything good from people, but the Brown family turned out to be wonderful. Mr. Brown was a businessman and his wife was a teacher. She was well versed in child psychology. That's why she immediately realized that something was wrong in my behavior. The Browns were raising 2 adopted children, Michael and Nancy, who were very much loved. At first, I was wary of my new acquaintances. After classes, I went to their house for a while, and we all drank tea together like one friendly family. Frankly, my parents did not like the fact that I began to come home late because I had a lot of household chores. They didn't know what exactly made me come late, but the very fact of me being late really drove them crazy. Now you were under house arrest, my father declared one day. No, I replied boldly, giving him a rebuff for the first time. What did you just say? What you heard? I was less and less afraid of my foster family because Mrs. Brown's support gave me the power to stand up for myself. I really wanted to take revenge on my family for all the humiliation that I experienced within the walls of that ill-fated mansion. Once I intentionally put salt instead of sugar in my father's coffee and burned Alice's favorite blouse with an iron. I didn't wash my mother's car as she ordered, but threw eggs into it instead. My parents tried to punish me. They threatened me with finesse and became really terrible. But I didn't care anymore because I was not alone. The Brown kids, Michael and Nancy, supported me in my rebellion. Once they even helped me to shower our entire mansion in toilet paper. You should have seen my mother's face when she went onto the yard. What's been going on with you lately? She shouted, being beside herself with anger. You are such an imprudent and ungrateful girl. We gave you a new, happy life. You only spoiled it. I can't communicate with you anymore. I don't have normal clothes, and I have to live in the attic. Is that what you call a happy life? Of course. Have you forgotten how you lived in an orphanage? We can refresh your memory. Making me return to the orphanage was their favorite way of manipulation. And before I was terribly scared of it. Even the attic didn't seem as creepy as the orphanage. But now I was not afraid. Moreover, I decided that it was time to put an end to the constant bullying. Once my parents decided to hold another social event in the mansion, everything went as usual. Everyone was admiring their kindness while my mother was showering me with the words of love for me again. Well, of course, a reporter from a popular glossy magazine happened to be right next to her. I'm so glad that my children live in an atmosphere of happiness and love. Isn't that true, Leah? She gave me a dazzling, loving mother smile. What an actress. Turning to the camera, I blurted out the following. No, it's not true. It's all lies. These people treat me like a slave. I am scrubbing their mansion all day, and all I get in return is threats and beatings. Dead silence suddenly rang in the hall. All eyes were fixed on me. A journalist was the first one who was able to speak again. But in other interviews, Leah, you said the opposite. because I was forced to. Come on, let's go. I'll show you how I really live. It will be a stunning reportage. And while my parents were recovering from shock, I was already taking the guests to the attic. They were horrified when seeing the conditions in which I lived. And then I pulled my trump card from my sleeve. I turned on the voice recorder, which was the kind the Browns had given me, and turned on the recent recordings. And in the first one, Alice was tormenting me. In the second one, my father told me that I would not go to bed until I finished all the housework. In the third one, my mother ordered me to give her my last pocket money. Of course, my parents tried to justify themselves somehow, but what those present had heard and seen was quite enough for them, especially for the journalist. The very next day, a scandalous article about our family was published. It evoked the interest of guardianship authorities. They wanted to immediately take me to the orphanage from that family. Of course, I didn't want to go back to another hell. That's why, with tears in my eyes, I asked for the Browns to adopt me. "We won't abandon you, Leah," Mrs. Brown promised, and very soon I moved in with them. My previous foster family had to leave the elite area to escape from embarrassment. All the media said that those parents went bankrupt because their reputation in society had been ruined, and no one wanted to deal with such a rotten family. Moreover, the neighbors constantly looked askance at them and were whispering something behind their backs. Alice was expelled from the elite school where she had studied because her parents had no money to pay for her education and excellent grades. Alas, without bribes, Alice was unable to get even good grades. For me, this whole story also did not pass without a trace as well. I've received anonymous threats there for a long time, and I knew perfectly well that my former foster family was sending them. They really wanted to intimidate me and make me feel guilty. Maybe I could have felt sorry for them while trying to ruin their lives. They had also spread negative rumors about Mrs. Brown, telling that when she was young, she was in prison. Of course it wasn't true, but no one was trying to clear everything up since she worked at a prestigious school, and the management did not need any rumors. Mrs. Brown was fired. While I was in revenge, I collected all the threatening notes I had received and went to the police, letting them know where to look for the criminals. The police managed to establish that my former foster parents were really behind these threats. Now they're in big trouble. They will never be able to wash this dirt off themselves again. Does my conscience bother me? No. They made me unhappy for years, were tormenting me, and considered me a lesser being. And now I'm happy, thanks to Mrs. Brown and her family. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Give your answers in the comments. Click on the thumbs up button below the video and share it with your friends.